Hello and welcome to the Seaweed Sofa, where we sit down with some of the most interesting participants at the World Water Week to learn more about the array of water-related issues being discussed this week in Stockholm. My name is Eric Paglia, host of the Seaweed Sofa, and this session is convened by the Regional Environmental Center. We're going to be discussing the Water Growth Stability Initiative, which is a framework for the creation of a knowledge-based platform, a dynamic network of water experts, and an e-learning tool for capacity building and the dissemination of lessons learned. It was launched by the Regional Environmental Center in April of this year within the project Sustainable Use of Transboundary Water Resources in Water Security Management in the MENA region, also known as WaterSUM. And joining me here today, we have a very distinguished high-level panel. We're going to be getting to one at a time here, starting with His Excellency, Mr. Mohammed Khalil, the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation of the Arab Republic of Egypt. We have Mr. Rida Gabouche, the General Director of Rural Engineering and Water Management at the Ministry of Agriculture, Water Resources and Fisheries of the Republic of Tunisia. We have Mr. Ali Subah, the Secretary General Assistant for Strategic Planning at the Ministry of Water and Irrigation of the Kingdom of Jordan. We have Ms. Marta Bonifert, the Executive Director of the Regional Environmental Center, and Dr. Anders Jägerskog of SIDA and also Counselor on Regional Development Cooperation and Water Resources at the Embassy of Sweden in Amman, Jordan. Welcome to you all. Very nice to have you here on the very crowded Seaweed Sofa this afternoon. So perhaps I could start with you, Your Excellency. If the WGS initiative is able to strengthen and expand in the years to come, what positive effects could it have on the MENA region?
Yeah, if we talk about the challenges in the MENA region is the driest in the world. Most of the water is transboundary water, originates outside the region. The region will suffer from climate change. The region the biggest importer of desalination plants and technology. The region spends a lot of money on having energy to desalinate. The region lacks governance, institutional setup. So the challenges are many. So if we talk about how can these challenges be accommodated through some sort of networking among the regional countries, dividing the experience or sharing the experience among different sectors, not to replicate whatever effort is done. If we are to do some development in the region, we have to consider relative strengths in every country. I think this could be a major contribution in the integration or cooperation within the region.
And Mr. Gabouche, would you say that water means growth and stability for the MENA region?
Yes, just to remind that the different countries of the MENA region have some common characteristics. The countries lives with less than 500 cubic meter inhabitant per year. So it is the limit of water scarcity. For example, for Jordan, the inhabitants live with less than 90 cubic meters inhabitant per year. For Tunisia, it is 460 cubic meters per inhabitant per year. The water scarcity impact negatively the development above all in rural areas, such drinking water supply, limitation of access to drink water supply and sanitation, the lack of development with all the problem of employment and so on. This is complicated the problem. It is complicated the problem of growth and employment of increase, retention, and the employment, the migration from rural areas to urban areas, and maybe abroad. I can give you the example of Tunisian revolution started in January 2011. It started in Sidi Bouzid. It is interior governorate. Because of the lack of employment and because the lack of development. Besides the water scarcity, MENA region or MENA countries had to face many other challenges. These challenges can summarize as follows: climate change and the alternance of drought and flood periods, the increase of water demand growth for different sectors, agriculture sector, industrial, touristic, and so on, transboundary water resources management and conflicts between countries, conflicts and wars and their impact on neighbors countries, the overexploitation of water resources table, water pollution and quality degradation. In response to this challenge, many countries continue their effort to mobilize water resources by constructing big dams and small dams, and move from offer strategy management to demand strategy management based on establishment of water saving strategy to save more and more water for other needs, such as drinking water for poor areas, by giving subsidies to water saving system, for example. Improvement of the network efficiency, because the lack of water is so high and can reach some rate of 30, 40, 50%, depending of the systems. Adopting a suitable water pricing system to cover the cost. Integration of non-conventional water, such as reuse of wastewater after treatment and desalination, as discussed by Person Excellency. Improvement of water governance with involvement of all the stakeholders. Development of regulation to protect the water resources against pollution and overexploitation. Adoption of water diplomacy to reduce conflicts and ensure the development, peace, and stability. Countries of the MENA region work closely with the REC now to implement the Water Growth and Stability Initiative to try to overcome all the or most of all the problems mentioned above. Thank you.
Mr. Subah, do you think that the Water Growth and Stability Initiative could help facilitate cooperation between the European Union and the countries of the MENA region?
Yeah, and in shortage, yes. But when we talk about the EU support for the MENA region and especially for Jordan, really it's needed because Jordan, as other countries in the MENA region, located in arid and semi-arid countries, areas. So it means with the shortages of water. If we look to the Jordan, all the renewable water is less than 800 million cubic meter per year, which depends mainly on the rainfall. Always in our life, we managing our water resources in a crisis way. But nowadays, there is additional challenges, which is the fluxes of refugees make the life more difficult for the water decision maker for water demand management. So now we have additional crisis on top the all the crisis that by nature we have it, that we should supply additional 1.4 million Syrian refugees. Before, Jordanians receive 1 day per week water to his house or flat and store it in the storage in the roof. Nowadays, some areas need 2 or 3 weeks to receive the water because the demand, especially in the northern part of Jordan, increased 40% than before. And the northern part of Jordan is a scarce area related to the water resources. In the national level, more than 20% increase. So, in addition to the refugees, as in the MENA region happened, the climate change impact, the fluctuation of the rainfall before we knew that from November until January, we have good rain. Now they're shifting. Sometimes until January, we will not have rain. And it comes in 1 month. So the benefit from that, not when it distributed in months. So the rain-fed now killed almost all the agricultural activities need additional irrigation in the time where never we thought the irrigation will happen. So there is additional pressure on the water resources. Our water resources, the renewable one, now it's over abstracted. So when we look to any new water resource, we go to the expensive resource, which is desalination, and the sea more than 350 kilometers far away from the urban areas. So desalinate it and transfer it, it means the cost of each cubic meter will be difficult to be revenue from the consumers. So subsidy from the government will be. Additional resource, deep aquifer. We now start to drill 1,000 meter to have water. The water table more than 500 meters. So the energy needed for abstract this water is a huge. And we have a big problem relating to the energy because we import 96% from our energy from outside. So it's make additional debt on the water authority. Nowadays the debt more than 1.5 billion GD, which is around more than $2 billion because of the energy and new expensive projects. So what we are looking from EU, from donors, to support Jordan to deal with the refugees crisis, because when we receive the refugees in Jordan, we save all the world from troubles. And Jordan, with limited resources, will not be able to continue with these services. So we would like to thank EU for their support for this type of RIC projects, for example, because they come and see the situation very closely by their eyes. They train the people how to behave with these shortages of water, how to participate in decision making. But it's not enough without additional support from all the world if they want to be Jordan as a stable country.
And Ms. Bonifert, through implementing the WaterSUM project and launching the WGS initiative, the Regional Environmental Center has now initiated its activities in the MENA region. How important is that for your organization as well as for the MENA region itself?
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here among you today and to really listen to all the issues that came up during our discussions for the whole MENA Focus Day. I would like to say that our organization was set up 26 years ago to build partnerships in Southeast Europe, Central and Eastern Europe. And now we are transferring lessons learned to the Eastern Partnership countries and the Southern Partnership countries. As much as water and energy are concerned, they're all having an impact on our society, both nationally as well as regionally. So when you look into it, some of the good examples that we can take, and I was also saying today, some of the challenges we were facing in the past could be transferred and shown over water security issues under the EMSEC, Environmental Security Initiative, where the Regional Environmental Center is a partner. But we should also think about the future, because the future also brings in the negative effects of climate change to our region, to Southeast Europe. And we can learn from the countries that have undergone, unfortunately, some of these challenges much earlier. And we can share and build partnerships for the present as well as for the future. So issues where we can share through platforms, partnership platforms, initiatives, and also good practices are essentials. So I do believe this initiative that was launched in Saint-Andre at the head office of the Regional Environmental Center is a pillar of future opportunities where we can work together on water, on climate-related issues, energy, food, all the challenges that we all face globally in an interconnected world. So I do believe that education and sharing and networking and also building positive examples for the future, all these what our partners were talking about, and our major supporter on this initiative, SIDA, is taking forward. I think this is a very good way forward, and I do hope that there will be others where we will be able to build strong partnerships in the MENA region and much beyond.
And Dr. Jägersku, perhaps you could comment on that, on how the WGS initiative fits within Swedish and SIDA priorities in the MENA region.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to comment on that. First, I'd like to state that we're very happy to see this initiative coming out of one of the projects that Sweden has been supported, the WaterSUMs, that all the guests here in the sofa are actively engaged in, for which we are very thankful for. Sweden has and takes the view that if you engage on water issue in any region, the MENA region or in any other region, you need to do it with a long-term perspective. You need the patience. You need to look at what's happening in the region as processes rather than projects. So we see the different types of activities that is coming from this project, this support, together with what others are doing and what Sweden is also supporting, as something that together will in the long term contribute to hopefully improved water security, of course, but also in the best of worlds also to increased peace and security. Sweden has, as of this year, a new strategy for the next 5 years for the whole MENA region, and I'm happy to see that water is one of the 3 highlighted issues for the next 5 years, and as it has been for the last 5 years, coming back to the terms of taking a long-term perspective in which the WGS initiative is an important component for which we're very happy.
And the initiative has several very ambitious objectives. Do you feel that these are realistic or not?
I think that there's a need for a vision, and while some of the objectives, may in the short term seem a little distant, in the longer term, I believe that one should aim high, and we need to prepare for the day when perhaps cooperation over the Jordan River, full cooperation on all the aspects of the Nile, the Euphrates, Tigris will be there. We're not going to see this full multilateral cooperation happening tomorrow because of all the challenges the region is facing. But through these initiatives and through other initiatives, I think we're building a platform for the day when the situation is more ripe, if you put it that way, for improved and better cooperation to happen. And in the meantime, we are actually, and the project is contributing to preparing for the cooperation to be improved.
Just one final question that I'll put out to all or any of you that'd like to comment. Considering we have such a distinguished panel of high-level officials and experts here on the Siwi Sofa, I'd like to hear your thoughts on water growth, stability, and sustainability in the MENA region. What do you feel are the key challenges in the years ahead?
I think
Your Excellency?
I think population growth is a key challenge when you talk about water demand, because as far as you have increasing population rates, this will put a lot of pressure on water demand, and as well as when you have higher standard of living with development, the demand of water and the consumption will increase. This will put a lot of pressure on water demand. Let me return back a little bit to Egypt's situation. When we talk about the climate change and the inundation of delta that have 3 million persons are vulnerable to be resettled in different areas, this put us in a challenge that we need to think about the future. How can we resettle this group of people, as well as deal with the population increase that is expected to increase in the next 2 decades with about 40 million. That will require additional water, additional resources, more utilization of the resources. Looking at the research areas on how to deal with research in having crops that can tolerate salt in agriculture, work in research to develop appropriate technology for desalination for two purposes, either for agriculture or for drinking water. All these are needed to be tackled within the region and regional base, because one country cannot face all these challenges alone. So if we talk about the region, at MENA region or an river basin region like the Nile River Basin, we have to think about developing the corridors, more cooperation among different countries to face these challenges.
Thank you.
If I may add to what His Excellency was saying, a lot of the issues, of course, to increase the water supply, which is being done in many of these countries through, for example, desalination. But I believe there's also a need to look at the demand side. There are many things that can be done to improve efficiency and thereby decrease demand, and thereby also addressing the issue of achieving more water for the growing population which is needed.
I would like to say that for us, one of the most important elements is to look into future generations. So to work with children, with communities, to build together a better understanding, adding to the resource efficiency and the savings. And I think that if we start to appreciate of the resources we have, and if you would start to act together from early age, that will bring a very good way forward for every one of us. And that's why we are also focusing very much on the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, because besides emphasizing on partnerships and water, we are also emphasizing very much the need of getting everybody involved, all the citizens, all the communities, and work together.
Yeah, I agree totally with my colleagues here. Relating to the water efficiency, I think all the countries should take actions. And we now in Jordan, for example, we prepared a water demand policy which take all the actions needed to be applied, plus the awareness campaigns from schools up to the communities, because we think that any cubic meter can be saved. It can reduce our pressure on the resources for the future generation. And at Jordan, now selected as monitoring country for the SDG 6, now we have a lot of things to do with the UN agencies to put the right definitions, because unfortunately for SDG 6, each country has different definitions about when they put the indicators or targets. So now we are working on it with the UNESCO in Habitat and other agencies, and we will have the last meeting on Netherlands soon to see or to put the right definition, or each country to put the definition that they understand it, because after that we can compare apple with apple, not apple with orange. So, and I want to say something here, that transboundary water, as His Excellency said, is the main issue in the future. If we don't make a good management for the transboundary, we will face all of us problems. Because Jordan, for example, have more than 40% of its resources come from outside. And you are in unstable region. With whom to talk, with whom to, because there is no institutionalization in the agreements that done before. So I think the transboundary will be one main issue in the future that all the countries should take care about it.
I agree with my colleagues. I think the next step is how we can strengthen the water saving strategy in the MENA region, because the agriculture sector consume the great part of the water resources, about 80% of water resources. How we can give subsidies to encourage farmers to set up water systems We did it in Tunisia, and we have actually 90% of irrigation agriculture land equipped with water saving systems. We can increase the tariff to decrease the water consumption by the farmers, and we had to strengthen also the operation and maintenance of the network. This is for from one hand. For the other hand, I think we had to give attention to the rain-fed agriculture, because our food need comes from rain-fed agriculture, about 40% and even 50%. And in this sector, we have many new technology to improve the rain-fed agriculture, and there is a complementary between rain-fed agriculture and irrigation sector. I think giving attention to rain-fed agriculture, we can decrease the tension on irrigation system and satisfy the need of food for the country. Thank you.
Well, that brings to a conclusion a very interesting, fascinating session of the Seaweed Sofa here. I'd like to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, for participating in this session, and I wish you best of luck in implementing the WGS initiative in your home countries and in the MENA region, and dealing with all the water challenges you're facing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in to the Seaweed Sofa. Stay tuned for more episodes throughout the World Water Week.